My Hebrew students following me through this journey in Seow's A Grammar for Biblical Hebrew. We have now made it to Lesson 11. Lesson 11 beginning on page 116. Lesson 11 mainly introduces us to the idea of what grammatically we'll be referring to as the construct. The construct. Another way of referring to constructs in some other languages might be of talking about a genitive. A book of Brian's. Okay, that of relationship between those two nouns, book and Brian, is what in Hebrew we will call the construct. And the way we get a construct is to create a construct chain of nouns. Hebrew does a construct in a funny way, as we're going to see, which is just to take a word and then just juxtapose it right before another word. And the word of is to be read into that chain. Sometimes, actually, though, the vowels of the first noun, the first meaning the first one that appears sequentially, will actually change a bit to mark its status as construct. So, for example, a word like bayit, do you remember bayit, house? A house, habayit, the house. If you want to say house of the Lord, you don't just say bayit Adonai, Bayit Yahweh. Rather, the whole word itself is different. Beit Adonai, instead of Bayit. Sometimes words in the construct won't change that radically. Sometimes the vowel changes will be very subtle. Sometimes there'll be no vowel changes at all. Take a phrase like, take a word like Melech, king, Yisrael, Israel. How would you say a king, an Israelite king, a king of Israel? Melech Yisrael. So Melech is just Melech, Yisrael is just Yisrael, and the two words just go right next to each other, okay? So it can be as simple as that, my dear friends, as simple as that. Or it can be as complicated as saying Beit Adonai instead of Bayit Adonai, okay? Page 116, just walking us through this lesson. It's a very wordy couple of pages here, especially for Seow. We haven't had this many words. I would encourage you to read carefully all of those words. And if you're not reading the words carefully, which Seow is saying, you need to start doing that, okay? Because he has a lot of good things to say, and obviously I'm not summarizing everything in these audio summaries. There's no word of. What you get is just a juxtaposition of two words. So he gives an example here in that first paragraph. To say a son of man, you can juxtapose the nouns ben and ish, and you can even join them with a makef. It's really nice when they join them with a makef because then you know for sure that these two nouns are in construct. A son of a man. Okay. So the word ben then is in the construct state. Ish is just ish in the absolute state. Okay. You could even do 3 or 4 nouns in a construct state. So in second paragraph, page 116, Ben Ish Chayil, a son of a man of valor. Okay. Nouns which are in the construct state do not, as a rule, take the definite article. However, if the definite article does appear on the second of those nouns, or the third of those nouns, depending on how many there are in a row, the noun in the absolute state, then the entire phrase is in the is definite. So down here he gives some examples, A and B on page 116. Ish milchama, a man of war. However, take a phrase down below in B, Joshua 4:9, Aron haberith, the ark of the covenant. Now you say, what do you mean the ark? It's just Aron. Okay, but Aron is in construct with haberith. How did we know Aron was in construct with haberith? Well, it is, okay? I think Aron, by the way, if in the absolute state, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be, actually has a different vowel under the aleph, a kametz, I think. Whereas here, it has shava, or compound shava. Aretz haberith. But again, it doesn't have, the noun in construct doesn't have to have a vowel change, okay? Doesn't have to. Instead, you can have an example like Genesis 24:34. Eved Avraham. Eved Avraham. Now you might say, okay, the servant of Abraham, he translates it, but where's the definite article on? Why isn't it Eved Ha-Avraham? Okay, well, this is a thing in Hebrew. a thing in Hebrew, which is that proper names do not actually have cannot take a definite article. Okay, proper names cannot take a definite article. So for example, this is how we know that, like, just to bring a fun thing in the book of Job, we have a character called Ha-Satan. Ha-Satan. Satan sounds like the word Satan, right? In fact, that ha in the beginning of the word indicates that the author didn't see Satan as a proper noun, a name like Abraham or Jacob or Yahweh or something else. Rather, it was a kind of title, Satan meaning an adversary or an accuser, okay? Which is what the Hebrew verb Satan actually means, accuse or act as an adversary. While I was giving that fun little excursus, I was just checking in a lexicon here on my desk, because as I was telling you for the previous example in Joshua 4:9, Aron Haboith, I said Aron, maybe was there a vowel change there? There actually isn't. I mean, that is really how you spell Aron. It's written with a shava or a compound shava, anyway under the aleph. But as you'll see if you flip the page to page 118, just to look ahead a bit, you can see that there are various nouns which in the construct state actually look a little bit different. For instance, page 118b, yod, if it's just yod, in the absolute, yod, comets, dalet. However, yod as a construct is yod, patach, dalet. Do you see that? Okay. So sorry about that little misstatement. I'm not going to go back and do the whole recording just to eliminate that slight misstatement about Aron being spelled with a comets. It's not spelled with a compound. Shiva, Aron Hapoith, the Ark of the Covenant. Beit Avi, the house of my father. Okay, and you say, well, where's the construct there? Well, I mean, think about how you would translate that, though. A house of my father. I mean, this is a contextual issue. I think we'll rule some things like this. So, construct nouns as a rule don't take the definite article. A construct noun with a prefixed preposition, le, ke, be, might also not have the definite article. So he gives an example here in the last full paragraph on page 116 there. Beveit avi, in the house of my father. Okay. Of course, now we're just going to be putting the construct into various kinds of sequences which we've already learned. So page 117, the first examples there in Hebrew that he gives. Page 117. Ben ha'isha ha'tova hazoth. The son of this good woman. Son, the woman, the good, the this. Okay. Ben ha'isha means the son of the woman. But ha'isha, of course, is being modified by an adjective. Hatova. And in fact, not just an adjective, but also a demonstrative. Hazoth, this. So it's going to take us a little time to get to recognize phrases like this. Ben ha'isha hatova hazoth, the son of this good woman, or Ben ha'isha hatov hazeh, the son of the woman. This good son of the woman. Okay, so Ben ha'isha, but what is hatov hazeh modifying? Zeh and tov are both masculine, thus modifying not isha, but Ben. Okay, so this gets a little tricky, right? But our adjectives and our demonstratives will go along with our nouns that we want them to go along with. Okay. So read the words that Seow has to say here. Now, these construct noun forms, turning to page 118 and 119, and even 120, you get a whole bunch of examples here. I don't think it may not be helpful at this point in your learning to try to memorize all of these vowel changes. Although if you're so far ahead of the game and you're ready to do that, that could only help you to memorize these, if you could. I just don't think right now the goal wouldn't be to memorize all of these things. Of course, there may be some of these that will come easier to you, like page 118b, yad, yad, and then look at malach, angel or messenger, and then malach. Notice that there's a pattern here. So comets, where normally we would find comets in the word, yad and malach, it reduces down in the construct to patach, yad, malach. A funny thing happens with plurals. This is important. This actually you should memorize to some degree. Page 118C. That masculine plural ending, im, remember that? Or the dual ending, iam. Whenever a masculine plural noun is in the construct, funny enough, you get a fairly major change. So adonim, lords, or mayim, waters, goes to adonai. So adonim, lords, adonai, lords of. So you chop off the mem there at the end, and that last little heroic vowel goes to a sere. Mayim, waters, goes to me, waters of. And that word me occurs a lot in the Hebrew Bible in construct. So that would be helpful to memorize, okay? And then D, and this happens a lot with other kinds of things. In an open syllable, this long vowel, a, comets, or sere, a, reduces to shava. So page 118D, shalom goes to shalom. Shemoth, names, goes to shemoth, names of, peace of. Do you see how that works? You say, oh gosh, I'm not going to remember those vowel changes. Well, maybe you will. I don't know. Don't count yourself lost before you even started, okay? Second of all, you may not even have to always memorize them. It may be obvious by the context what kind of construct chain is being set up. And then maybe you'll be like, man, are these in construct? Oh, wait, shalom is the word shalom, but here we have shalom. Oh, yeah. So, it might come to you that way. Okay. He gives some other examples here on page 119. All kinds of reduction here. And all kinds of things, okay. The feminine ending, page 119E, a, goes to at. This is a really obvious one. So Torah, Torah, but what if you wanted to say that the Torah of Moses? It would not be Torah Moshe. It would be Torath Moshe, instruction of, law of Moses. F is not a big deal. Oh, G on page 119 happens a lot. Words that are these have these diphthongs, a couple of vowels in a row, like mavet, death in the absolute. That word mavet is almost never in the absolute state, though. It's always like the death of somebody. So it's always moth, however you want to do the T there. Remember, you could do the Israeli pronunciation, mot, or this hypothetical ancient Israelite, moth. Mavet, moth, death of. Page 120. 120I1. Segolets, words like melik, melakim are going to go to molke. There's that ending. Luckily in the feminine plural, though, you don't get a difference, at least in the ending, although the vowel changes under the preformative, or the first consonant. Nefashoth becomes nafshoth, okay? And you've got some other examples down there below. Page 121, here's a list of absolute nouns which have constructs which are unpredictable by any rule, okay? Again, on your flashcards, maybe it'd be helpful for your Isha flashcard, page 121, Isha, go back and write on the back of it, along with the definition, see if each time you can remember that the construct is Esheth. Av, father, the construct is Avi. Don't ask me why. There's a complicated grammatical explanation. Achim, brothers, goes to Ache. That's not so strange. Behema, beast, goes to Behemoth, beast of. Rashim goes to Rashe, and so on and so forth. Not all of these are so crazy, all right? But some of these words for family, wife, father, brother, those are a little different. Maybe not what you expect. Can you have participles and so on in construct chains? Yeah, absolutely. Page 122. Check out an example like this. Page 122a, Deuteronomy 13:2. Cholem chalom, a dreamer of a dream. So cholem is the kal active participle there. Chalom is a dream. Put them together, you get a dreamer of a dream. Cholem ha-chalom, the dreamer of the dream. Why is it the dreamer of the dream? Cholem ha, definite article, right? By the way, notice how, just to be fun here, see how it gives us two examples in Deuteronomy 13:2 and 13:4, where one time cholem, dreamer, is spelled with just the O vowel above the ket, and another time it's spelled plene, full spelling with the holem vav. Okay. Adjectives, Exodus 4:10. Kevad peh ukevad lashon. This is what Moses complains of. Heavy of mouth and heavy of tongue. Okay, it's a little wooden translation there. Some more examples of the translation of the construct chain on page 122. Exodus 3:8. Zavat chalavu davash. A land flowing. Zavat there is actually the feminine participle. Flowing with milk and honey, flowing of milk and honey. Okay, so just because something's in construct doesn't mean you always have to use the word of. Sometimes a better word will work. Isaiah 38:18, under number 4 on page 122. Yordei bor, those who go down to the pit. Okay. Yored would be one who goes down from Yorad. Yordei, Yoredim would be the plural, but then in the construct it's Yordei with that Sarah and Yod there on the end. Okay. Read all these other things. Page 123, here's an important thing to know. The word kol. Kol. Kol comes up all over the place. It means all, each, or every. Please read out loud for yourself, like literally out loud, all of these examples in Hebrew on page 123 as you study, and notice how the word kol is being used. Okay, very different ways. The whole, all, every. Notice in the middle of the page there, Genesis 6:17, page 123, 5b1. Genesis 6:17, kol asher ba'aretz, all that is on the earth. So you got to do a good English translation. I mean, everything that is on the earth. Okay. And then page 124, he introduces you to this idea of the superlative. I don't want you to get too crazy about the superlative. Okay. Now he's just being mean. Now he's just dumping stuff on us. Okay. There is no way in Hebrew though to say like something like Genesis 42:13, the youngest. Okay. But rather you get a variety of ways of expressing the superlative. Look these over, and we'll begin to learn these kinds of things as they come up in our translations and in your exercises. Vocabulary on page 125. I'm going to stop reading these out loud. I'm hearing you magically through the screen here that your readings are getting better, and I don't need to do this, but you need to keep continuing to practice your pronunciations. Keep practicing the letter names. Don't forget the alphabet. Could you write the alphabet right now, by the way, in Hebrew, if you sat down and did that? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, all that stuff. Don't forget about that kind of stuff and the letter names, because these things are going to continue to play a role.